Progreso, just 30 minutes north of Merida. This isn't just a cruise port, it is a gateway to the Gulf of Mexico. And it's also one of the most accessible beach lifestyles in all of Mexico. So if you've been dreaming about ocean breezes and beachfront living, but without the Caribbean level prices, then Progreso should be on your radar. Now here's the thing though, vacationing in Progreso and actually living here are two very different experiences. So in this video, you're gonna get a realistic look at what life here is actually like. We're gonna cover everything from costs of living, rental examples, the overall vibe, safety, pros and cons, and the kinds of things you really need to know before deciding if Progreso belongs on your short list of places to live in Mexico. Now, if you're new around here, hello, my name is Mariana. I run Mexico Relocation Guide, and since 2019, we've helped thousands of people move to Mexico the right way. Now, most people come to us feeling completely overwhelmed about their research on moving to Mexico, and if this is you, you've probably watched dozens of YouTube videos, maybe you've read a couple of Facebook group posts, and you might be overwhelmed because you're hearing totally different answers about residency visas, healthcare, costs of living, safety, and what daily life in Mexico actually looks like. So that's exactly why we created Mexico Relocation Guide. Everything we publish on our site is not only fact-checked, but it's kept up to date, and it's explained in a way that actually makes sense, especially if you're still figuring out where to start. So just beyond information, we also connect people with vetted contacts not only in Progreso, but throughout Mexico. So throughout this video, I'm going to mention a couple of free resources that we've created to help you go deeper, and I'll link everything below so you can check them out when you're ready. All right, now let's get back to Progreso. Now, the vibe here is what I would call unpretentious coastal. Now, unlike many places in Mexico like Playa del Carmen or Puerto Vallarta that feel kind of resort polished, Progreso still feels like a working port town that's slowly growing into itself. So what I mean is you'll see fishermen bringing in the catch of the day with modern high-rise condos rising up behind them. It still has that fishing town feel, just with a few modern layers added in. Now, it's windy, it's salty, and it's very laid back. So this is a kind of town where you get to wear flip-flops day to day, even to dinner, and you quickly learn when to enjoy the buzz and when to avoid it. Now, one important thing to know early on is that Progreso is still an active cruise port. So on ship days, the Malecón and the Centro get busier for a few hours. But by late afternoon, the town settles right back down. Now, most people who live here simply run errands around that schedule. Now, if you love quiet mornings, ocean air, and a slower pace of life where daily life feels simple, Progreso can be a really good fit. But if you're looking for nightlife, constant entertainment, or a polished resort vibe, this town can feel a little bit too quiet. And that's something that you really need to experience for yourself before making a move here. So in case you're wondering, Progreso sits directly on the Gulf of Mexico in the state of Yucatan. It's about 40 minutes inland from the neighboring city of Merida. The weather here is usually characterized by two things. So it's hot and windy. Because you're right on the coast, it's usually a lot cooler than Merida, and because that ocean breeze really does make a noticeable difference. Now, you'll also hear local people talk about nortes. These are strong north winds that come through during the winter months and can bring choppy gray seas and cooler temperatures. Now, some people love that dramatic coastal energy, while others find it a little bit too intense. But you should know that there are some drops in temperature in the winter. Now, you also need to understand that Progreso is a coastal town, which means that there is a hurricane season. It runs from June through November. Now, I do want to mention that direct hits are very rare, but there does tend to be heavy pours and some flooding can happen, especially in and around Centro or on ground floor homes. So choosing those kinds of places that are maybe higher level or outside of the downtown area can make a big difference long term. The good news though is that locals are well prepared for hurricane season, and power outages during storms tend to be very short. So everyone prepares, everyone's very calm, they're very organized. It's nothing to panic about. Now, if you didn't know this, Yucatan, the whole state, is known as one of the safest states in all of Mexico. And safety-wise, Progreso benefits from being in Yucatan. So most expats feel very comfortable walking around at all hours. Even at night, they feel perfectly safe living here. That being said, this is still a small coastal town, so common sense still matters. Like, you should still lock your bikes, you shouldn't leave any valuables on the beach, and really getting to know your neighbors goes a long way because neighbors tend to take care of each other. And by now you're probably wondering, where would you live if you lived in Progreso? Well, Progreso really has two main sides, and where you choose to live will completely shape your day-to-day lifestyle. First, there's the east side, heading towards Chicxulub. Historically, this is where Merida families and their summer homes sit, and today it's the heart of the snowbird community. Now, the vibe here is quiet and residential, so you'll see older beachfront homes alongside newer condo towers. It's very peaceful, it's very expat friendly during the winter months, but keep in mind that some local shops and restaurants do close during the off season. Now, to give you an idea, a modern 2-bedroom beachfront condo with a balcony and pool access typically rents for about 18,000 to 25,000 pesos per month. That is about 1,000 to about 1,400 US dollars in today's exchange rate. On the west side, though, toward Yucalpeten and Chelem, you'll see the most dramatic development happening right now. Now, this area has become the nautical heart of the region. If you own a boat or like resort-style atmosphere near a body of water, this is where you're going to feel most at home. Now, the marina developments here have brought in a more upscale, vacation-like feel with beach clubs and higher-end dining, higher-end stores, and just an overall more resort feel. Now, for rentals here, to give you an idea, a luxury 2-bedroom apartment in one of these marina developments usually starts at around 22,000 pesos per month, which is around 1,200 USD a month. Now, there's obviously also Centro, which this is for you if you want to be right in the middle of daily life. Like, you don't want to have to rely on a car. You want to be able to walk everywhere. It's busy, it's colorful, and it's very local. So you're steps away from the Mercado Municipal. You have pharmacies all around you. You have the Malecón. It's pretty walkable. Now, homes here are traditional Yucatecan style homes. They're typically single story. They have high ceilings. They often have a hidden back patio, but they tend to be older. It can be loud and it can be a bit gritty, but it offers one of the most authentic coastal living experiences in Progreso. Now, to give you an example, a traditional 2-bedroom home just a few blocks from the beach can often be found renting for 12,000 to about 16,000 pesos per month. That's around 650 to about 880 US dollars in today's exchange rate. Now, one quick heads up about rentals, not only in Progreso, but throughout Mexico, and especially in beach towns. So they can be seasonal, which means that prices tend to fluctuate throughout the year, depending on whether it's low season or high season, and good furnished units tend to go faster. Now, if renting in Mexico makes you nervous, I break this process down step by step in my free email rental series, and I include a link down below if you want extra support. Now, I totally understand that living by the ocean is a dream, but in Progreso, the environment plays a big role in your monthly costs. So here's a breakdown of a standard 2-bedroom home and what you can expect to pay for utilities month by month, starting with electricity. So just like in other hot parts of Mexico, the heat here, especially in the Yucatan, can be intense. But you also have to factor in that there is salty air, and salt can corrode air conditioning units over time, making them less efficient. So sometimes you just have to take all these things into consideration. Now, for electricity, a typical monthly average is going to be around 1,300 to 2,000 pesos per month. That's around 70 to about 110 US dollars a month for electricity. Although this can definitely change or increase significantly if you are in a beachfront condo with large glass windows facing the sun and if your air conditioning unit is corroded because of salty air. The next one is water. Water is very affordable. It averages around 200 pesos a month, which is about 10 USD per month. And then there's gas. So most homes throughout Mexico use LP gas tanks. That's natural gas. So you should expect to spend about 450 pesos a month, which is around 25 US dollars. And then for internet, you do have high-speed fiber internet available in most of Progreso now, and you can expect it to cost around 550 pesos a month. That's about 30 US dollars. So if you average that out, your total monthly utilities will range from 2,500 to about 3,200 pesos, or around 138 to about 177 US dollars. However, just keep in mind, again, there is a hidden utility cost in Progreso, and that is mantenimiento or maintenance. You see, the salt and the humidity here are relentless. So if you own a home and you have to plan on doing your own repairs, whether it's a fresh coat of paint every year or servicing your electronics, you should budget an extra 50 to 100 US dollars a month just for like this salt air upkeep. Now let's look at the total monthly cost of living, including rent. So there's going to be two scenarios. Scenario A, which is on the lower end, if you rent a local house, let's say somewhere like in Centro, further away from the beach, you shop at the municipal market, you live a more modest lifestyle. A couple can live comfortably like this on $1,500 to about $1,900 US dollars a month. And then scenario B is higher end. If you choose a modern condo on the east side or in the marina, you enjoy going to the beach clubs from time to time, you keep the air conditioning running all the time to fight the humidity, fight the heat, then your budget will be closer to $2,500 to about $3,500 US dollars a month. Now let's get into shopping options, because for a long time, grocery shopping in Progreso meant driving into Merida, but today that's changing. So one of the biggest updates heading into 2026 is a new Walmart Supercenter opening right here in Progreso. And for locals who once packed coolers for all these shopping trips to Merida, having a full-service supermarket down the street will be a really nice change. But speaking of big box supermarkets, Walmart is not going to be the only option. You also have Bodega Aurrera, Chedraui, Soriana, and Super Aquí, which is great for everyday essentials. Now, for fresh seafood, the Mercado Municipal is really hard to beat. You get the best of the best. You're right at the source here. Now, if you have very specific dietary needs, like maybe you're gluten-free, vegan, you may still find yourself making the occasional Costco or Chedraui Selecto trip to the north of Merida, which is only about 25-30 minutes away depending on traffic. So what happens if you get sick? Well, Progreso is well equipped for day-to-day healthcare. You'll find pharmacies like Farmacias Itza, Farmacia Value, and Farmacias Emerita, along with quick consult clinics like Farmacias del Ahorro and similares for very minor issues. But for anything serious or specialized, you're only about 25 to 30 minutes away from some of the best hospitals in all of Mexico, and those are in Merida, because most expats here rely on hospitals like Hospital El Faro or Hospital Star Medica in Merida. Now, routine care is affordable enough to self-pay, but private insurance is strongly recommended for anyone requiring larger hospital bills or for somebody considering emergencies. If you want more information on your healthcare options in Mexico, again, I've included some links in the description of this video. Now, getting around Progreso, if you're probably wondering how you're going to get around, is pretty simple. And in fact, it's one of the biggest attractive draws to this beach town compared to big cities because how simple it is to get around. You have everything from public transportation to obviously buses that connect you from here to Merida. So starting with local combis, they run throughout the town and cost about 10 to 15 pesos per ride. It makes it super simple not only to get to the market, but you also can get to a pharmacy, a local doctor, or the beach. Now, a combi is a shared van that's usually privately run, and they tell you where they're going directly printed on the window of the shared van. Now, because the terrain in Progreso is completely flat, biking is also incredibly popular. You'll see everyone from school kids to grandparents riding around, and the Malecón has become more pedestrian and bike-friendly over time. Now, if you want to get into Merida, then we recommend the Auto Progreso bus. Now, these usually run every 20 minutes, and it takes you straight downtown for about 25 pesos. That's about $1 and some change. It's not only reliable, but it's air conditioned, very easy to use, and very safe. And if you're traveling here internationally, then you have the Merida International Airport, which is about 45 minutes away and offers direct flights to major US cities like Miami, Orlando, Houston, Dallas, Los Angeles. And if you're wondering, while you do not need a car for daily life in the centro area of Progreso, having one definitely gives you a lot more flexibility, especially if you're going to be going to Merida to run errands, or you're going to be exploring the quieter beach towns that surround Progreso. Or maybe you want to go to cenotes or places like the pink salt flats of Xtampu. And one of the biggest lifestyle advantages of living here is how diverse the state of Yucatan is and how much you can explore without going on these very long road trips. You get beach life without feeling very isolated. So Progreso makes a lot of people's shortlist because it offers real beachfront living at reasonable prices, easy access to a major city, and a lifestyle that still feels very authentically Mexican. Now, we packed this video with the most current information available for Progreso, but of course things can change over time, especially depending on when you're watching this video. So that's why I always recommend checking out our free city guides on our website. And of course, we have one for Progreso. So for the latest and more in-depth details on living here, I recommend you check out the link in the description of this video. Inside that guide, you'll also find information on how to access our vetted contacts, from immigration help, long-term rentals, to moving household goods, people who can help you bring your pets, and other services that you'll need once you're serious about making the move here. You can find it at mexicorelocationguide.com/Progreso, or Again, I'll include the link in the description of this video. So you see, Progreso is a place for people who truly love the sea in its most authentic form. They're not looking for a very busy touristic town. They're not looking for the nicest dining options. They're looking for truly a laid-back life. And it's a town in transition. It's holding on to its fishing roots while slowly adding more conveniences like new supermarkets, the marina development. But it's also a breezy, laid-back, and it offers a coastal lifestyle that's still very, very affordable. So I hope this tour helped you get a clearer picture of what life on the Emerald Coast is truly like. Thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, make sure you like the video and subscribe so you don't miss any future city guides and, of course, moving to Mexico tips. This is not goodbye, amigos. This is just an hasta luego. My name is Mariana, and I will see you on our next video. Nos vemos!